Okay, so this is part 2 about the dragon pie. This is my wife's phone, so I'm not as good at using this. Camera wobbling all over the place. I'm not as good at using this, but there's the pastry that I used. You saw it rolled up before, and now rolled it out flat, quite thin. Okay, so that's one of the trickiest bits, is getting it into the baking tray. Isn't it, Gabrielle?
Yeah.
Okay, so now I've spooned out some of the filling there, and we've put it on to make a basic sort of serpentine sort of shape. So that's going to be the body of the dragon there. And then we bring the pastry over and then form a dragon. I think that'll be enough. I need to leave some to make some smaller pies for some family. Okay, so the next bit will be putting the pastry over. Okay, that's about half of it now. Curled some of the pastry over to cover some of the meat. I still need some to bring it up and crimp the top. Okay, right, so I've put the other side of the pastry up and crimped it to try to make a sort of scaly back, and try to put a bit of a face into the dragon. Not my best, but maybe as I'm getting old I'm not as patient or as artistic as I used to be. So now I'm going to get Gabrielle to colour it. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to get some egg yolks and some red food dye and mix it all in there, and Gabrielle's going to paint the dragon. Okay, so we've got egg yolks and a bit of food dye. That's a lot of food dye. Oh well, be pretty bright red. Oh dear. Stir with a knife, cause trouble and strife. Brush, be able to paint it. Okay, so my daughter Gabrielle is now painting it. That's better. That's brilliant. And also that egg yolk will help to sort of keep it all in case any cracks, because it is wholemeal pastry, which has a tendency to crack a little bit. That's why I use the strong that's normally used on bread. But that's just me. I'm not an expert, but I try different things. So you're going to coat all of that, aren't you, Gabby?
Yeah.
So we've got a nice red dragon. And then we're going to put it in the oven. Do you like painting it?
Yeah, I like painting, because I'm going to be an artist when I'm older.
And you like cooking as well, don't you?
Yeah.
So we're mixing painting and cooking. Okay. That's good, because it cracked a little bit there, didn't it?
Mm.
And that'll help to tie it all in. Right, well, that's coming along nicely. One thing that I should mention that I didn't mention before, meant to tell you in the first video, was that the amount of pastry that they tell you to make it's not enough. You can see I actually made two quantities of that pastry. I've got a bit left over, but look how much of the filling's left over. That one's going to family, and there's enough there. You see that's quite big. There's enough there for them to share out. And I could probably make one for some other part of the family, but I'm short of pastry. So for the quantity of meat and filling, I should say, the quantity of filling, probably really want 3 times the amount of that pastry. You nearly done?
Yep.
Because you've got another one to paint in a minute.
I know that. I just need to get these little white bits on here, because that's the tricky bit what I've got to try and get in.
Okay. And there's enough left over even after that other one, just to make a little sort of pudding size one in a bowl, and I'll put the top on that. So as Gabrielle finishes off the last one, the cat can smell the meat, and the big one's done, and the little one, I've done a St George cross on the top of the pudding size one. Okay, so the dragons are going in the oven. at 200 degrees for 10 minutes. Right, so they've just come out of the oven and I've managed not to burn them, which is always a good thing. You can see that the colouring is sort of cracked a bit, makes it look a bit like old paint. That's cooked well. It should have been the sort of like old paint varnish that's cracked, which gives it a nice sort of scaly effect. That actually might be one of the biggest dragon pies I've done. We might be eating that for a week. So I've got to get it on a plate so that it looks a bit more presentable. Okay, so I took the dragon out of the oven and we didn't have a plate that was big enough for this one. I said it's the biggest dragon pie we've had. So I've put it on this chopping board, and when it's cooled a bit later on, we'll probably chop it up then and have it with something nice and hot. But of course the important thing now for the kids is to spear the dragon with a lance. So Gabrielle, do you want to spear the dragon?
Yeah.
Yay, the dragon is dead. Happy St George's Day. Well done. So that's this year's dragon pie. The smaller ones I'll give out to relatives, and well, hopefully make an even better one next year. Bye. I want some dragon pie too. Give me dragon pie. I want to eat some. I can smell it. It smells lovely.